Welcome to Wellness Radio with Dr. Jeanette Gallagher as your host. Her show discusses topics of health, wellness, and spirituality, and is about discovering your place in this great universe, from your cells to the cosmos. Along with her guests, in casual conversation, she strives to ask the difficult questions that may be holding you back from a vibrant life, and shares new ideas that may inspire you to make a change in your life that you only can see in your dreams. And now, here is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Radio. This is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher, and it's a pleasure to have you with us here this evening. Tonight, we're going to take a really dance in the ethers, as we have shared on this radio show before. We are going to be into the cosmic, the esoteric, perhaps the philosophical, and maybe the energy that is all around us. What is it about? How do you tap into it? How do you know where you are? How do you feel it inside your body? And how does it really share something that we say? Is it guidance? Is it a message? Or perhaps it's just unconditional love coming from the cosmic, spiritual, and souls all around us. Perhaps we say, oh, I feel so disoriented, just as I am today. I looked up this morning to take a picture of the clouds. As soon as I bent my head back, I went, oh, goodness gracious, I'm almost a cloud because I'm so dizzy, I had to put my head back down and go inside. Can we see that we are all part of the same energy field? Everything that we see, hear, feel, sense, and touch is open for us to be in awareness, to draw our consciousness forward and say this is something more than just this human experience. It's more than this body, this house, this legacy, this job, this blah, blah, blah. There's so much more than that. Once you tap into it, though, you really need to be aware, find some guidance, and find others to be able to share your stories, because it will take you along a journey. What is a journey all about? It's not always about an outcome, a story, or something that you have to write down for reference later and tag it into your memory as a solid stone. It's just about breathing it in for the moment. I see it, I feel it, I sense it. Thank you for sharing. And move on. Truly, that's what we'll be talking about today. My guest today is Ann Bolinger McQuaid. Her book is Everyday Oracles, Decoding the Divine Messages That Are All Around Us. Ann, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Oh, it is sheer joy for me. I've been looking forward to this. I read about you. I had not listened to you, unfortunately, but boy, I'm a fan, and I'm so eager to have this experience with you. Thank you for inviting me.
So glad to have you, because as I said to you before, is that we're going to be preaching to the choir here. We pretty much have been seeing, hearing, feeling, and sensing and touching for, decades. Don't you think that that's so vitally important to share with others now at this time?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. I think right in the front of your book, you have a picture of a cloud. I probably have, maybe 80,000 pictures on my phone right now. And probably 10,000 are clouds, And I've always said, people would say, well, do you see the cloud? And then you run to get your camera. And I'll say, no. I go out, I click 10, 15 pictures, I come in the house, and then I look at what they told me. Versus saying, what do you have to command? And now I have to capture you. I'm not capturing anything. What I'm doing is engaging. Perhaps?
I love that, engaging, not capturing.
Yeah, I think, I found that lesson so vitally important, because I was looking outside, and we have tons of magnolia trees where I live, and there's probably like 100 within an eighth of a mile. And They were all blooming, and I went outside, and, sometimes I like to, look at the flowers and say, I would love to take that smell and just instill it in some rain, thunder, water, and hold it on, so that I could feel its energy. And all of a sudden I went to look at the flower, and I said, no, don't you capture me. And I didn't. And I just looked at it, enjoyed the energy versus capturing it. Do you think that connection is perhaps very important as the first onset of how do you feel energy?
Oh, I think to me, that's the key. I think when we realize that we are in an interactive universe, there's the key right there. And to me, didn't even have to realize that you just are already interacting. And I think some people have to get past all the blockages that say, what? We're in an interactive universe. But I believe that when we recognize it's interactive, it depends, interdependent, interactive response to our needs is there to protect us. And one of the things I love to talk about that is kind of, you're on the edge of that, I'll go ahead and step on. We're ultimately safer than we realize, because ultimately is the key there. We're ultimately safer than we realize because we are in an interactive space here. And it's designed to protect us. We go through whatever we're going through. But what you're talking about, having something tell you, don't take a picture of me, and honoring that, I feel like you really cut to the center of it all.
Yeah. I think it's so important. I distinctly remember, this one time, my daughter, she had kind of taken over my car. In other words, when she turned 16, she got in it and she never got out of it and wouldn't give me the keys back. And it was like, I didn't give that to you. That's the only car I have. Now I'm going to be homebound and you're going to be going. I don't think so. But anyway, and she had traveled around the country to do her work. And she says, I want you to send me the car. I'm sending a truck to pick it up, transport, and put my things inside of it. And I was like so shaken. I was so vitally upset. The car was leaving. It was something that had really been on a journey with me for over 15 years, and
wow.
it just was a not a good scenario for me, and it just felt wrong, and I just said something doesn't feel right here. And as soon as they lifted the car onto the truck, I could not stop crying. I was wailing probably for a good half an hour watching it, and I looked up in the sky, and there was this huge cloud. And it was of an old-fashioned mother with white hair, wire-rimmed glasses, holding her hands together, watching the car go on the truck. And I said, wow, she's going to be protected. And then I remembered my daughter had said to me, I get in the car all the time and I drive, and Dolores takes me here and there. She knew the energy spirit of her car. It was named Dolores. So here was Dolores showing me in the clouds she was going to be fine. And I think when you look at something so profound, is that not something that you say, there has to be something more to this world and this journey, perhaps?
100%, and that yes, and I believe that is there, not as profound as what you just described as far as the seeing Dolores, is that what you go, in the sky with her glasses and all that, not that, but on some level. But as we go deeper, I think we really get that sense of, wait, this is a fun thing that's coming to my mind right now. It's like a safety belt, it's like we are in our birthday suits on Earth. We put on a safety belt. The safety belt, I never had this thought before. We put on the safety belt. The safety belt is the security that we've got. And what a beautiful way for the universe to speak to you. And so now I'm so curious, were you able to capture it, or is it in your mind, the image of Dolores in the sky?
I don't even recall. I just took the moment and let it go.
I'm a documenter. We had a little conversation earlier, just before we got on the call, and I'm a real documenter. So I do, and you are too, because I think pardon me for putting that on you, but the way you go ahead and you go ahead and you take all those pictures and you come in and then you look. So it's just a matter of when you document and when I document. I do take a lot of random pictures, and I do have had, not your experience, but there are very personal messages up there for everyone when we catch them.
Absolutely. You share so many stories in your book. Again, the book is Everyday Oracles. You share a lot of stories of your own personal history, but also too of others. And I think that's very important that we say we're not alone in this, because I will tell you, I walk around, in many decades saying, did you see that? Did you hear that? Look at that. And they're like, huh? And I was very fortunate in this world to be able to say they weren't going to put me someplace, and because I can see, hear, and sense so much, I will be sitting in the room and I'll say, oh my gosh, what is that fire? I got to go see that fire. And I'm walking all around the apartment looking for the fire. And what it was is that I was remembering a memory where there was a fire, and it was a past life kind of idea, but that sense had come up to me. And I think that's important for others that witness or are around someone like you and I, is to say, oh, what do you think? Tell me more. Because once they do that, they are validating your experience no matter what it is. And I think that's what we are all seeking is, can you validate my experience? Not can you take it and judge it, because only everybody needs to, validate and have it down as this is reality. It's my reality, and I think that's important, perhaps.
I agree with you 100%, and I think that this everyday dimension, that's our whole series now. We have a whole series of books now. It's everyday extra dimensions, and as we get further into the extra dimensions, that's what you're expressing here, which is, we're in such boxes of reality, and I respect and love science, and technology, and all of the modalities that you're discussing here, and they all work, but it depends on which prism we're looking through. So I think, for you to be able to, and those who are doing it, to be able to share that and offer it to someone who is really doubting themselves and going, whoa, wait, something's wrong here. No, something's right. You just haven't been there before. Not you. You're there all the time. But for the new, I love the word newbies, but for the people who are new, who are eager and want it, yes, go.
Right. Because it can definitely shut down a lot of people when they're saying that they have that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people will tell me their story and they'll say, okay, we're going to flip the coin and I'm going to show you and share with you the other side of what you have seen, sensed, and heard. And then they're going, what does that mean? And then they come away and they go, oh, wow. You think of the idea of being cold all the time, and sometimes people are freezing cold all the time. And I'm going, okay, so when were you cold before? And they will tell you a story about maybe something in their earlier childhood, and I'll go, oh, that's awesome. So then you had control and limitations, and they said, what? And I said, well, did you have a voice? And then we say, let's just find your voice. It's not about getting warm. It's not about working on control. It's not about going back into your childhood, blah, blah, blah. It's about finding your voice. And I think sometimes if we can follow that thread when we see, hear, feel, or sense things, we will find such a glorious story going forward and not have to be the victim or suffering or grief or whatever you want to tack onto it, don't you think?
Yes, and I love your... Yes, and I followed that thread. I love the thread. And I love the thread that, as each of us follows a thread, it's our thread that leads in. I'm going to expand a little bit on your thought here, but it leads to a larger tapestry. And that in that tapestry is where each of us is trying to figure out where we belong. And I believe we all belong, and we, like you and me and everybody out there, the people that are still doubting and going, what? It's the process of getting there to really recognize it and then feel comfort. Once we realize what I talked about and what you're talking about going far enough out there that you see so much more than a lot of us will ever see. But there's a security in knowing that we're just not all out here on our own, that all of this that to me is all interconnected. We're just, and we just tune in. And I believe the universe gives us people like you, if we're lucky enough, that can come along and do just what you do, which says, do you want to look at the other side of that?
Yeah. I distinctly remember, too, many times over my life, I've had so many surgeries and near-death experiences and everything. And I remember being in the hospital, and you know how they have the ceiling. I don't remember what kind of ceiling it was. I don't remember any of that. But I distinctly remember saying, looking up and saying, ooh, that's a face, and that's a face, and that's a face. I would see all of these faces in the ceiling. Now, to a medical professional, That is a side effect of the medication. To a mental health practitioner, she's being lucid, she's losing consciousness. To another doctor or anesthesiologist, that's kind of the result of maybe the drug that's too much, or maybe we need to give her a little more. To me, it was, those are the faces, those are all of my spirit guides. They're just watching me to make sure I'm okay. Now, which one would you rather choose? Do you know what I mean? I mean, the idea is, can we choose in freedom our own experience? That's a big question.
It is a big question. And to another perspective on that, to expand it just a teeny bit more, but to stay where you are, something that I think a lot of us are experiencing that are actually on this journey, camera lenses. Now yours, the images that you were seeing in the hospital room, clearly you would not have a camera with you. But it makes me wonder, because what I do know and have experienced, and, a lot of us do, that the camera lens is designed to pick up things that the eye is not designed to see. So I think it's like in the conversation we're having right now, to me, imagine it's almost like all of this is floating out there. It is. And depending on which extra dimension we're looking through and whether our eyes are designed or whether we have a camera nearby, I've been delighted by images in the camera that I had no idea were there. And there it shows up. So, I think all of this is magnificent.
I think that's very important to touch on for a minute, Ann. It's about the dimensions. Once you're open to another dimension, it really, you say, what is that? I know for myself, I can walk down any street in New Orleans, tell you who I was, how old I was, what the year was, and my name and everything, and the story that unfolded on those streets. And it just comes to me almost like a movie screen in my thoughts. And I could go to sleep, and all of a sudden I'm just like in that space and time, and I know it. I can smell it, I can feel it, and I know it within every inch of my being. That's truly being in a parallel universe in another dimension in time.
Truly.
Many times people will say, my loved one passed on, and I want to feel their energy. However, here's the biggest block there. I did not, when I was walking down those streets, request it, set it up how I wanted it to be, put down all the parameters, and was waiting for it to show up as an outcome. I just walked along and experienced. Now, people who want to hear from a loved one, they call in their name. They want to be able to say, it needs to show up in my vision like that. I need to be able to feel them so that I know that they're there. So that's a certain way. And I want them to be able to give me an answer, or give me a thought, or quench something inside of me to fix me or heal me. So that's really an outcome kind of idea. And I think that's very important to decipher the differences. Are you experiencing energy in its purest form, or are you taking the human story and saying, this is what I want, and commanding and controlling energy? Now, that second one's never going to work, right?
I'm following you 100%, and I think, again, to go back to the extra dimensions, it's like you're looking at a parallel dimension or parallel universe, or whatever we want to put that boundary around that, and inviting that to come into this box that we all have that is so structured, which is this is all it can be is within this box. But I do want to offer, I would love to share this with you. I don't know that this is in this book, but we're talking about extra dimensions. Mark Anthony has a book out right now, The Afterlife Frequency. Don't know if you're aware of it or read it, but it's that tingling in your body. It is a frequency that you can feel in your body that is actually translates both my husband passed in a year after the book that we're talking about today was published, and he didn't leave. He stayed. So he stays all the time, but he shows up on the camera, and not all the time, but like I have a photo that I will share at some point in the book that's coming out. But it's above the mortuary, And I just took, like you're talking about, you just take pictures, because you're just taking them. Well, I just took this picture because I felt like taking it outside the mortuary, basically because the tree that lined a certain area reminded me of where we lived before. And when I looked at it a few days later, because I was very busy at the time, there is a non-visible light frequency image of his profile and our dog who passed 2 weeks before. We had to have him put to sleep 2 weeks before him. But in the sky, headed in the same direction. And that is something that was up there, which is what you're talking about. It's up there, but I couldn't see. It was up there, the camera could. And so I guess I want to feel this is a fun place to put it in and say anybody that wants to check that out, because we're, moving between talking about the value and trickiness of moving between dimensions. Play with like you're playing with the camera, and then as you're looking at it, notice if there's other things in it that show up that you never dreamed would be there.
And you always share in the book about seeing things within. I think it was one of your relatives that they would see a pattern in food, or they'd see a pattern out in nature, and they would find that and share it with you. I know for myself, I always notice hearts. It's very profound. It could be a leaf. It could be, I was looking out at my patio door, and I said, oh, gosh, my patio door needs to be cleaned. And I says, no, it doesn't. There was a heart shape in the dirt on the door. And I said, we're not cleaning the door. It's good. It's there, And I have a big oak tree, a living oak tree, not 10 feet from my door, and it's in its sunset years because it's starting to split, and I could tell it's getting old and mature. And I was walking by, and I was taking some pictures, and I was looking at it, and all of a sudden just kept calling me, take a picture of the bark, and I did. Came in, and the picture of the bark was a heart in the bark. Nobody else can see it. I cannot tell you how many times I have shown people the actual tree, and I says, what do you see? And it's like nothing. And it's like, okay, awesome, Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and for Valentine's Day, I saw that they had heart-shaped rigatoni, and I bought a few boxes, and I kept them here. And my granddaughter came over. She's 7, and I said, honey, I bought you something, and I handed it to her, and she says, spaghetti? And then she looked at it, she says, it's hearts. So I gave her hearts. I didn't give her spaghetti. I gave her hearts. And she felt something different in that. Do you see? So I think sometimes we can start so simply in being able to share the magic of what's around us, perhaps.
Oh, yes. And such an empowering little thing. It sounds to me that's what you just shared about. She saw it as one thing, and I don't know if you said anything, but then she was able to go deeper or go into an extra way of looking at something. That's.
But you know what, too, also, I think it's so vitally important, is we understand that we have all grown up like this. We were all open a long time ago. It's just as humans, we become more dissected, closed down, more concise within the limits. I know my grandchildren, one of them, when she was little, she would always bring me rocks. And I said, that's awesome. She's a magical person. I hope she keeps this her whole life, Yes. And then my grandson brings me leaves. And my daughter's going, what is this? They're bringing you rocks and leaves. And I'm going, intuitively, they know that that's the connection. So what they're offering is love through that form.
Yes.
And really, if we look at it, nature provides love all around us. That's all we're looking for. So when you're seeing the vision, of your husband and the dog, that's showing you love. That's showing you unconditional love.
Yes.
The rigatoni is showing love. The clouds are showing you love. That's all this truly is about. This whole scenario, this whole path is only meant to do something to your heart. And what it's meant to do is to stir the frequency. If we ever thought that our whole existence is about stirring a frequency, man, what will we be doing all these decades, huh? I don't know.
I love that term, stirring the frequency. I love that. Like awakening all the in my mind. That's where my mind went. Like stirring it, but by stirring it, like little sparks of awareness are coming. That's a beautiful phrase.
Yeah, well, because we get so wrapped up in what our story is, Sometimes people would say to me, "What were you doing today?" I said, "I was watching the trees." And then they said, "Well, what did you do all day?" I said, "I was watching the trees." And they're like, "Oh, in other words, you didn't do anything. You just wasted the day." I said, "No, I watched the trees. The trees called me to pay attention and just to balance out my energy watching the trees." And that was the most profound, most invaluable moment. Let's talk about value for a minute. Many times people will say, "What is the value in knowing and being open?" And they don't see that. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, so many thoughts on that. First off, I would like to share, but I hope I can retain them all. But the first thing I thought about with that was when someone asked you, "What have you done?" and you said, "Looked at trees all day," and you went on to explain a little bit further. That, to me, we had just spoken about children and how we come in with this fresh connection. That's why it shuts down, to me. I heard in there, what shuts it down with, "What have you done all day? What have you done all day? What have you done all day?" And it's not tuning into the energy that's around us. So that was very profound to me, the way that you shared those two things. I think that it's the someone that I know. I love this phrase. She talks about not doing but being, and I think that it's in the level you were talking about is in the being, not the doing. And I think that certainly this society that we live in right now and have lived in for however long. Let's just take it. I'm going to just throw this out here as a thought comes into my mind. In the United States, as a young country, way before any of us were on Earth, but as a young country, that's what we were doing to survive. So that was, however, when ancient societies lived, they didn't have anything. They were depending on the universe to keep them alive, to tune into all of the things that were speaking to them. So it's kind of like a real, I don't mean to zero in right on that one point about developing the U.S., but I do see a quantum split there between when we relied on the universe and now it's what do you mean you're doing that all day?
Right, absolutely. It's truly about also the outside world. What have you been hardened by in your experience? What have you been validated? And how are you judged? Because those three words are all human story. And, I cannot wait till the day we come to telepathy time, which you share in your book, too. Well, I'm so tired of words, you know what I mean? I don't even want to hear or sense any. Sometimes I will just tune out, And it's very interesting because in this past, I would say the past 3 years, my hearing has been going a little bit more each year. And it gets to the point now where I might put on the TV or I'll walk by and it's on, and I don't hear what they're saying. And my husband will say to me, "Oh, you need to get a hearing aid. We need to fix that, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "No, that's just fine," because I'm not tuning into the old dogma anymore. So I'm not saying, is there something wrong with my physical body and I need to be able to do this? What I'm saying is that no longer suffices or is necessary in my existence. And I think both of those two paradigms are playing out for many people right now, don't you think?
Well, it's the way you described it makes a lot of sense. Sometimes when we get into the extra-dimensional things, it doesn't make sense, but it sounds to me like what I heard in there is that you are tuning into what matters to you, not all that superfluous information, words that are all around you that carry all that judgment, that carry all the patterning, that carry all the fear. Like right now, I don't even want to go any further than to say that we all know, and the whole world is filled with fear right now. And when we can step one step out of it, it tones that down, like what you're talking about is happening with you, so you're not hearing it as much on the TV. If we are hearing it so much on the TV, it would seem like our options are to either turn it off and television, and I meant to say newspapers. Don't read it. Be informed enough that you can be informed, but there's a whole fear factor that builds, that pulls us all off. So, yeah, I think I love what you're describing and the way that you've identified what the benefits of what's going on with the hearing that your husband wants you to get. I think that's also very cute that someone, not just your husband, but anybody that would try to convince you to get a hearing aid when you see a higher purpose there.
Right. It's totally different. I remember being so ill, I think it was a few years ago, and I had actually had to start using a wheelchair to get places, like to go to a doctor's office, or a visit or whatever. And when I got to that point, I distinctly remember my husband had brought me into the lobby of this building, and there was an elderly man there, and I don't know, I said something to him, and he looked at me, and I could feel instantly a sense of, it was not a good sense. And then all of a sudden, immediately came to my thoughts, it said, a wheelchair does not have an age. This purpose does not have an age. So if this is what you need, this is where you are. Because it was an elderly man, and you think, oh gosh, I'm not that old. I shouldn't be in this. What happened to me? Blah, blah, blah. That's all human judgment. So I think once you just say, the wheelchair does not know who it's transporting, it just is serving a purpose. So you think about our experiences. Are we just serving a purpose, irregardless of always the message?
And yes, and are we missing? I believe, I could try this in, see if I can tie this in. It does in my mind. I believe so much that we create. It's been studied. We create our own reality. So right in there, what I heard you doing was creating a reality that is beyond societal boxes that say this is what a wheelchair means, and you were assigning in your own being a new reality to that wheelchair was steps set aside from what society is trying to say, oh, broken, bad, all the doom and gloom things that go. And you're looking at it with the purposeful intention that also carries. So, yeah, I love that what you did right in there about looking at all the different things that could mean for different people or signal for different people and creating your own out of it.
Yeah. It's so important, I think, to be able to say, just allow your consciousness to have its own freedom. If our consciousness can have its own freedom, I know when I write, I write on my personal group. It's called The Sage on the Corner. I talk on this radio show, which is Wellness Radio. I write things on my blog, on my website. And when I write, I have no clue what's coming out. I truly do not. And I actually have what I call stream of consciousness. And I had asked my son one day, I says, you know what, everybody says I need to have my work edited. Can you look at this? Because he's really good at that. And he says, no, I'm not editing your work. That's stream of consciousness. You either put it out or do something with it. And I went, oh, okay, awesome. Because every time I go back and I look at it and I read it, which I rarely do, but if I do, because I need to type it or post it or whatever, and I try to change one word. It could even be as simple as of or in or the. Even those simple things, as soon as I change it, the energy has shifted and it no longer is the energy of the moment. So I never, ever, ever edit anything, irregardless of anything that anyone says or anything. I just take it, share it, and release the outcome. And once you release an outcome, isn't that how you're supposed to share all these experiences that you talk about in your book?
Well, yes, I will agree with you and say, of course, the book was edited, but it was something that I have, see if I can even express this. I am so aware of what you're talking about. When you are writing from a stream of consciousness, there's a purity of it. There's a purity within it that is and is not mine. I will just speak for myself here. That is other. That I value everything that comes from that, and I see myself as a reporter for the universe, and I'm not going to mess with those words. And I have, if something, and I'm not at all, I'm just admitting that book was edited, but I will not allow someone to take it out of what I can recognize as the stream of consciousness. And there's another book that's coming out, and that is the Cloud Speak Oracle card book. That is written, and I haven't mentioned this, and I don't know that I was going to, but the text in that goes with each cloud, it's all stream of consciousness. That is not one word. I would not let. Well, first off, it's my book, but that one won't be edited because it's what you're talking about. It's a stream of consciousness, and it's coming from more than me. I don't want to speak for you, but when it's for me, it's more than me. I'm not going to try to. I honor those words. There it is. I'll stop with. I honor those words.
Right, but also, too, we are not, quote, writing, we are receiving. That's two different things.
Yes, exactly. Honor what we're receiving. Yeah.
Yeah. And really what I've always said is that it's my higher self that I'm just saying what to write down, because my essence, in other words, my human being in this lifetime, is a very jaded and kind of filtered experience, so to speak. So when I allow that filter to go away of this humanness, then my soul essence can speak, and that's what I'm writing, is I'm receiving what my soul essence is speaking about. And once I put those words down, there's so much more power in that, don't you think?
Yes, 100. More. What's more than 100%? A jillion percent. I'm with you every way. Every word that you said there is just so true. Again, back to the purity of it, and I think that is to honor that. There's no other way, I think, to be a pure channel than to just honor all of that, to know when it is and to honor it. And I look forward to reading some of that from you. Yeah. I don't know. Where can I get a hold of that?
I know. I do a lot of what I call picture books. It'll be a picture, and I'll have just one phrase on the bottom.
Love it.
I can pretty much put out 30 pages of that in 10 minutes because that's what I see, and that's how it comes. And I think what we want from others, we could talk about this in closing, Ann, is that we want others to see what they see and share that as true and valid. We don't want others to share and then have someone take it and say, well, this is what I saw, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't up to the other person to validate it or to change it. What we're saying is that we want to put it all out in the universe as pure and just release it as such.
Yes.
Many times people will say to me, well, Dr. Jeanette, what do you do for work? And I'm like, I don't know. I just open the door and show you all the possibilities of the universe. That's it. I don't have an answer. Do you know what I mean? Because truly, I'm not going to be a coach that's going to stand on the sidelines and go rah-rah when you do what I tell you to do, or that you got to a certain place because you punched all the dots along the way. That's not really going to help you. Or you maybe, this is something that's going to fix you or whatever. It's not that answer. I think what you and I are both sharing, and also in your book, you share about all the stories of others and your relatives, is about how can you engage in your experience and find the joy and the love within the time that we're here, perhaps?
Yes, and how can we, yes to all of that, and how can we, as a culture or as the group of people that we are, come together to help bring this part of reality into as comfortable a place as all the boxes that we have all been into. So, and I wanted to just go back to that place beyond words that you talk about, and interesting that we both we're so involved with words and all. But when we when we individually can go to that place beyond words, maybe it's the cloud and that word that you were talking about that you create. It's someone else's word that can take you to your place. That's magic of being. And I love what Albert Einstein says. Most of us know this, that we either live as if everything is magic or nothing is magic. So to that place that we go to where all that gestates.
I almost can't see anything different other than the world I am. And I think sometimes people will say, but over here is fear, over there is joy, so we kind of want to be able to move the meter, so to speak, or else we want to live in balance in the middle. And truly what I always say is that that's a linear frequency. That's a very lateral kind of thing. And I don't live in the lateral paradigm. I live above the paradigm.
You definitely do. Yeah, out of the box, above the paradigm.
Yeah, it's above the paradigm. And when you can see that you live above the paradigm, you just are in observation of it. It no longer snags you down, drags you down, pulls you up. It doesn't bring you joy. It doesn't bring you grief. It just is. Maybe?
Yes. The isness of being. The isness of being above the paradigm. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And boy, once you get above that paradigm, you say, I'm living in this other frequency mode, and it is awesome. You know that whole story of we're going from 3D to 5D or 4D or whatever?
Yeah.
I distinctly remember, and I think it was about 15 years ago when I started this radio show, someone had said that. And I said, honey, I live in the 23rd paradigm. I wish you would all hurry the heck up because I'm sitting here waiting. And I don't know how that came out of my mouth, but it did.
I love that. Wait a minute. I'm writing down. I'm going to have fun with that. 23rd paradigm.
Yeah.
No, I'm like you. I don't. Yeah, for those that need all that, those measuring places, yes. But I love the idea of just moving directly toward the 23rd paradigm.
Yep.
I love that. In a universe,
it was just such a sense of freedom. It was like I'm not in the space that, that you're trying to bring me into, and it's sort of like I won't be brought into that.
Don't box me in. Don't. Yeah, you escaped. Good, and now you're reaching back.
Yeah, actually, I'm just vocalizing and see where it goes. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true, but I don't call that reaching back. But your vocalizing is the way. I hear that. But by vocalizing it, you do. You put that energy out there for people to let it stick to them or invite them to open more, which is sometimes a process and sometimes not.
Yeah. Let's talk in closing again, Ann, about, I wanted to touch on one thing and I forgot about it, about when you have an intuition about something, the answer is pay attention. I distinctly remember there was one time, I have like this cedar chest next to my bed and it has some gemstones on it, some candles, one or two things that are important to me. I have a lamp there where a lady is holding, it's a Tiffany lamp. She's holding up the earth. The earth is the lampshade.
Okay.
Anyway, and what's so important about it is I kept hearing, you need to energize. You need to energize the table. You need to dust it, clean it, energize it. And I wouldn't pay attention 2 or 3 weeks that went on. I used to do it like every other Sunday or something like that. And I didn't do it. One day, it was so loud, it was like every 5 minutes it was telling me. I said, okay, I'll do it. And I sat down and I did it. I spent about an hour just cleaning it, paying attention, putting maybe something there, I don't know, a glass of water or whatever. I don't really remember. Then, that night, we had gone to bed. It was 10 o'clock. I distinctly remember the time. And my husband was already sleeping, and he has a CPAP machine on, so he doesn't smell anything, All of a sudden, I said, I'm smelling fire. Here goes crazy Jeanette again. I tell my husband, I'm smelling fire. Get up. No, and he's going, and not listening to me. I said, get up. And all of a sudden, I looked out the window, and there were flames shooting in front of the window.
Oh.
And the apartment behind us, which is a distance of exactly 1 measured foot from my wall to their bedroom wall, their oxygen tanks had exploded and the whole entire place went up in flames because I had energized my space. There's no firewalls in this place. Because I had energized that, the flames went straight up and in the other direction. Not one flame crossed that table. Because I had protection from the higher beings. Do you see?
That's powerful. Yes.
But in my bedroom, there was nothing damaged. But in the other rooms, which are on the other side of the apartment, they all had smoke damage. And I'm going, look at that. The smoke had come through the baseboards. It had come through the air vents and the wall, whatever. And there was not a drop in that bedroom because I had energized it. So I just want to share that story because I think once you start paying attention to intuition, you will be protected, you will be guided, you will have safety, and you will definitely find what you need if you are truly engaging in what's coming across as true, valid, and your reality. Don't you think?
100%. 100%. And on the intuition, just to weigh in to say that intuition saved my life because years ago I had my voice of intuition kept saying, get a mammogram, and I did. I didn't even wait that long. I didn't rush out. And my mother had a mastectomy. I never worried about it, but I went and I had one. It was minuscule. So your firewall that you created and my intuition saying to me, get a mammogram, and then they, I had everything. I had the lumpectomy, didn't have to have it hadn't spread. Let's all pay attention to our intuition and the way that you worked. I love the way that you in the terminology that I know is real popular today, you manifested. You manifested that with your to me. You manifested that firewall with your this power of your intuition. Is that how you believe you manifested it?
Yeah, I just knew that there was an energy. I always call it an energy wheel. When I go out in the car, I will take my forefinger and I will just draw a circle, and I keep drawing around in a circle, and I'll say, I'm going to put out my protection circle. I'm going to push it out farther, and anything that comes around, push the cars back, or have them go around. And I can literally watch the cars in the rearview mirror go around. And I think once we create and energize our own energy field and be responsible for it, in other words, be responsible for the health of your energy field, that's where your own true power is all about. I think, Ann, truly what we did today was hopefully we've spoken to others who are perhaps listening and saying we're preaching to the choir too, or if there are others who, as you say, are newbies, perhaps we are kind of opening the door and letting some fresh air in. And that was really the purpose of today.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And I really enjoyed the dance. I want to go back to it truly is with you, dance, and I really honor what you're doing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for being our guest. Can you share with the listeners how to find out more information about your work? That would be wonderful.
Yes, you could. We have a very active social media. I think you'll find it with my name, Ann Bolinger Quaid, and then we also have a lot of interviews and things coming up. If you get on our website, it's very easy. It's everydayextradimensions.com, and just follow your spirit and. We're all of us who are so involved in all of this beautiful awakening that's going on right now, tuning in. We're all out there for all of us.
Yes, absolutely. So find your dragonfly, find your sun, find your heart, wherever it is, what it is, and say, "Oh, awesome."
And share, like you did today, all the things that we are each doing. We are going to learn so much from each other, and you're just a wealth of information. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like to find out more information about Ann Bolinger McQuaid, again, the book is Everyday Oracles, Decoding the Divine Messages That Are All Around Us. Please do click on the link on the bottom of today's show page to go directly to her website for more information. And it is about being able to say, what am I seeing, hearing, sensing, and feeling around me? Because there is so much more than just this human story in which we were kind of indoctrinated when we came into this world. And now it's time to waken up and say there's so much more. Bring the energy in, feel it, dance with it, and as we say on the show, dance in the ethers. It's truly about being able to say we are so much more as a spirit and a soul. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Dr. Jeanette Gallagher, and until tomorrow, have a great day.
Today we discussed many life-changing concepts. Who do you turn to, and how do you know what is best when faced with a health crisis? Dr. Jeanette is a patient advocate. She listens to the patient, the doctors, and the family, clarifies the health issues and concerns, then helps the patient make the best choices going forward. If you would like help implementing change into your life and health, we can talk and see where you are stuck and how to improve the quality of your life. Check the link on the bottom of today's show page or visit drjeanettegallagher.com to schedule a phone appointment today.